welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle, and this is part 2 of my recommendations for this year's March Mystery Madness. The theme this year is 2x2 or doubles. So I have got part 2 of my recommendations for books that will fit that theme. We're leaving it wide open, so whatever you can come up with that's 2x2, doubles, anything like that. And so I've got some recommendations here, and I'm just going to dive straight in. First up, I've got some books that were published in 2020. 2020 is a perfect example of 2x2. So let's just dive straight in. The first is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I loved this book. It was really, really great. It was a good mystery with great characters, and it was really quite funny at times. It's set in England, and it's set in a retirement village, and we have 4 main characters who are the Thursday Murder Club. And what they do is they get together once a week to try and solve cold cases. So they're great characters, and in the Thursday Murder Club, someone connected to their retirement village gets murdered, and they get involved in the investigation. It's really fantastic. Next up, we have The Boy from the Woods by Harlan Coben. This, at the time when I read this, it was a standalone novel, but I believe that there is now another one out, so it's apparently the start of a series. I really enjoy Harlan Coben as a writer, and so this one is about a man named Wild. That's his last name. A man whose past is shrouded in mystery must find a missing teenage girl before her disappearance brings about disastrous consequences for her community and the world beyond. A Will to Kill by R.V. Raman. I really enjoyed this one. This is a book set in India, modern day India, and it's written kind of in that style of Agatha Christie. It's like somewhat isolated and closed off. There's like this patriarch who is changing his will, all of those things. I really enjoyed this one. There is a amateur sleuth. I think he's an amateur sleuth. And he gets called in to be there when the patriarch makes his announcement about his wills. There is a haunted manor house, estranged relatives, a will, and a murder, but set in modern day India. Really, really entertaining. And then we have Murder in Old Bombay by Nev March. I loved this when I read it. I really, really loved this one. This is a historical mystery set in India, in Bombay, and it is set in 1892. What I loved about this one was that it really felt epic. It was definitely a mystery. There was definitely a mystery being solved. There was an amateur sleuth. But there was also so much more. There was adventure and a little bit of romance, and like it kind of felt like the full package. It was really enjoyable to read. In 1892, Bombay is the center of British India. Nearby, Captain Jack Agnihotri lies in Pune Military Hospital recovering from a skirmish on the wild northern frontier with little to do but reread the tales of his idol, Sherlock Holmes, and browse the daily papers. The case that catches Captain Jim's attention is being called the crime of the century. 2 women fell from the busy university's clock tower in broad daylight. Moved by Addie, the widower of one of the victims, his certainty that his wife and sister did not commit suicide, Captain Jim approaches the Parsi family and is hired to investigate what happened that terrible afternoon. And then another one that is set in a different country, and this is the first in a series. This is The Tenant by Katrine Engberg. This is set in Copenhagen. That's right. In Denmark. The back says that this debut introduces 2 police detectives struggling to solve a shocking murder and stop a killer hell-bent on revenge. So this is a police procedural, and it has been translated into the English by Tara Chase. And then we have Joe Country by Mick Herron. This is part of his Slough House series that I really love that series again. And this is, I think this is the 6th in the series. And this is a series I think that it's best to read in order. But in this one, if Spook Street is where spies live, Joe Country is where they go to die. In Slough House, the London outpost for disgraced MI5 spies, memories are stirring, all of them bad. Catherine Standish is buying booze again, Louisa Guy is raking over the ashes of lost love, and new recruit Lech Kinski, whose sins make him an outcast even among the slow horses, is determined to discover who destroyed his career, even if he tears his life apart in the process. Meanwhile, in Regent's Park, Diana Taverner's tenure at first desk is running into difficulties. If she's going to make the service fit for a purpose, she might have to make deals with a familiar old devil. And with winter taking its grip, Jackson Lamb would sooner be left brooding in peace, but even he can't ignore the dried blood on his carpets. So when the man responsible for killing a slow horse breaks cover at last, Jackson Lamb sends the slow horses out to even the score. All the Devils Are Here by Louise Penny. This is from the Armand Gamache series. I think it's maybe 16 in the series. There is another one out now that I am really looking forward to read. And this one takes place in Paris. Armand and his wife have gone to Paris to visit their children and grandchildren. His godfather is involved. This is a fantastic one in the series. And then last but not least, for books published in 2020, we have Something to Hide by Elizabeth George. There hasn't been a book out in the Inspector Lynley series in quite a while, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This one has a great pair of detectives, Inspector Lynley and Barbara Havers. They're such a fantastic pair of detectives. This is a series that you're going to definitely want to read in order, so I'm not going to say too much about this one, other than this is on my own pile of possibilities for the month. I would really love to get to it. Okay, let's talk briefly about some books that are being published this year. A few of these books are out already, and a few of them are being published in March, so there is a chance that you could get your hands on them if you're really interested. First up, there are a couple books that were published that are being published on February 22nd, 2022. And that was just too perfect, and so I had to highlight these two books. The first is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. She wrote The Guest List and The Hunting Party. Welcome to number 12 Rue d'Amont, a beautiful old apartment block far from the glittering lights of the Eiffel Tower and the bustling banks of the Seine, where nothing goes unseen and everyone has a story to unlock. The watchful concierge, the scorned lover, the prying journalist, the naive student, the unwanted guest. There was murder here last night. A mystery lies behind the door of apartment 3. Who holds the key? And then The Harbor by Katrine Engberg. I showed you The Tenant. The Harbor is the third in that series, in the Corner and Varmer series. A boy is missing, a web of lies will be uncovered. When 15-year-old Oscar Dreyer-Hoff disappears, it's assumed that he's another teenage runaway, an overlooked middle child who will turn up in 24 hours. But as the hours and then days tick by and the family becomes more frantic, Detective Yep Corner and Annette Werner begin to dig deeper into Oscar's life. Who has been sending the family malicious notes? What secrets is Oscar's best friend keeping? And what's really going on down at the harbor? With every passing hour and little evidence, the odds of finding a missing person grow dimmer and dimmer in their toughest case yet. Okay, let's backtrack now to January 4th. The Maid came out by Nita Prose. Nita Prose is a Canadian author, so I thought that was cool. Molly Gray is not like everyone else. She struggles with social skills and misreads the intentions of others. Her gran used to interpret the world for her, codifying it into simple rules that Molly could live by. Since Gran died a few months ago, 25-year-old Molly has been navigating life's complexities all by herself. No matter, she throws herself with gusto into her work as a hotel maid. Her unique character, along with her obsessive love of cleaning and proper etiquette, make her an ideal fit for the job. She delights in donning her crisp uniform each morning, stocking her cart with miniature soaps and bottles, and returning guest rooms at the Regency Grand Hotel to a state of perfection. But Molly's orderly life is upended the day she enters the suite of the infamous and wealthy Charles Black, only to find it in a state of disarray and Mr. Black himself dead in his bed. Before she knows what's happening, Molly's unusual demeanor has the police targeting her as their lead suspect. She quickly finds herself caught in a web of deception, one she has no idea how to untangle. Fortunately for Molly, friends she never knew she had unite with her in a search for clues to what really happened to Mr. Black. But will they be able to find the real killer before it's too late? A clue-like, locked room mystery and a heartwarming journey of the spirit, The Maid explores what it means to be the same as everyone else and yet entirely different, and reveals that all mysteries can be solved through connection to the human heart. That one sounds really interesting, and I'm looking forward to receiving it soon from my library. It's on hold, it's on its way. On January 11th, Something to Hide by Elizabeth George came out that I just showed you. I accidentally talked about it in the previous one, so I'll just highlight that here. Something to Hide came out on January 11th. January 25th, The Appeal comes out here in Canada and the States by Janice Hallett. Now this one sounds really intriguing. I'm also really looking forward to this one. It's on its way from the library. This one is again a mystery that's written in a different manner, and that's what I'm intrigued about. So what you have is there is going to be a trial. A dead body is found, an arrest is made, and in the run-up to the trial, two young lawyers sift through the material, emails, messages, letters, with a growing suspicion that the killer may be hiding in plain sight. The evidence is all there between the lines, waiting to be uncovered. And what we get as the reader is exactly what the lawyers get, all the material. And so we get a chance as the reader to try to solve the case along with them, and I find that really interesting too. February 15th, An Impossible Imposter by Deanna Raybourn comes out, and it's the 7th in the Veronica Speedwell series, London 1889. Veronica Speedwell and natural historian Stoker are summoned by Sir Hugh Montgomery, head of Special Branch. He has a personal request on behalf of his goddaughter Euphemia Hathaway. After years of traveling the world, her eldest brother Jonathan, heir to Hathaway Hall, is believed to have been killed in the catastrophic eruption of Krakatoa a few years before. But now a man matching Jonathan's description and carrying his possessions has arrived at Hathaway Hall with no memory of his identity or where he has been. Could this man truly be Jonathan back from the dead? Or is he a devious imposter determined to gain ownership over the family's most valuable possessions? A legendary paru of priceless Rajasthani jewels. It's a delicate situation, and Veronica is Sir Hugo's only hope. So yeah, that one sounds really interesting too. March 1st, The Night Shift by Alex Finlay is coming out. That night was expected to bring tragedy. So begins one of the most highly anticipated thrillers in recent years. It's New Year's Eve, 1999. Y2K is expected to end in chaos. Planes falling from the sky, elevators plunging to earth, world markets collapsing, a digital apocalypse. None of that happens. But at a Blockbuster Video in New Jersey, 4 teenagers working late at the store are attacked. And only one inexplicably survives. Police quickly identify a suspect, the boyfriend of one of the victims, who flees and is never seen again. 15 years later, more teenage employees are attacked at an ice cream store in the same town, and again, only one makes it out alive. In the aftermath of the latest crime, 3 lives intersect. The lone survivor of the Blockbuster massacre, who's forced to relieve the horrors of her tragedy. The brother of the fugitive accused, who's convinced the police have the wrong suspect. And FBI agent Sarah Keller, who must delve into the secrets of both nights, stirring up memories of teen love and lies to uncover the truth about murders on the night shift. Twisty, poignant, and redemptive, The Night Shift is a story about the legacy of trauma and how the broken can come out on the other side. So I'm really interested in that one as well. I love mysteries that are set in the 90s, and that, you know, that whole Y2K thing. I totally remember that. New Year's Eve, 1999. People were like seriously worried about what was going to happen when the clocks hit midnight. Okay, and then March 15th, this is the last one. We have 9 Lives being released by Peter Swanson. If you're on the list, you're marked for death. The envelope is unremarkable. There is no return address. It contains a single folded sheet of white paper. The envelope drops through the mail slot like any other piece of post. But for the 9 complete strangers who receive it, each of them recognizing just one name, their own, on the enclosed list, it will be the most life-altering letter they ever receive. It could also be the last, as one by one they start to meet their end. But why? That one also sounds really fantastic, doesn't it? Okay, let's move on to books that have the same word twice in the title. First up, we have 50/50 by James Patterson and Candace Fox. Heads she wins, tails she dies. This is from 2017. What are the chances that convicted killer Sam Blue is innocent of the serial murders of 3 young women? Detective Harriet Blue is certain that her brother is incapable of having committed these horrific crimes. Determined to clear his name no matter the cost to her career, Harry attends Sam's hearing. The outburst she unleashes earns her a reassignment to the Outback. What are the chances that Harry has landed in a town where the population of 75 is in the sights of a seasoned killer? A diary found on the roadside outlines a shocking plan, the massacre of the entire town, and the first murder, shortly after Harry's arrival, suggests that the clock is already ticking. What are the chances that meanwhile, back in Sydney, a young woman holds the key to crack Harry Brothers' case wide open? If only she could escape the madman holding her hostage. That sounds pretty good, actually. I haven't read that one yet, but it does sound pretty good. Okay, we also have Swing, Swing Together by Peter Lovesey. This is part of his Sergeant Cribb series, which is historical mystery set during the Victorian time period. And this one is about rowing. Yeah, this is a fun historical mystery series written in the 70s. And then finally we have Swing, Brother Swing by Ngaio Marsh. Ngaio Marsh is a Golden Age writer, and she wrote over 25 novels, most of them about her detective Alan Roderick. This one was published in 1949. The music rose to a climax. Lord Pastern aimed his revolver and fired. The figure in the spotlight fell, and the coup de théâtre had become murder. Could Inspector Allen believe the eccentric peer had let hatred of his future son-in-law go too far? Or would the tangle of jealousies and blackmail among the party guests reveal another murderer? Okay, how about this one? Is a unique one. This book, I found a book that has 3 C's and 3 O's in the title, and so I thought that was a fun 2x2, and that's Cocoa Conspiracy by Andrea Penrose. This is also the second in her Lady Ariana Regency series, so it's historical mystery set during the Regency. I really enjoy this series, and I think it's totally fine to jump right in on the second one. Actually, it's not bad at all. Yeah, this is just a really fun series. There's some recipes in here if you're a type of person who enjoys recipes in their mysteries, and they're all related to cocoa. That's kind of an ongoing theme in the series. So yeah, that one's really fun. Another kind of unique way to look at the theme is this next book, and I'm calling it Page Count Doubles. This is The Devil's Wind by Steve Goebel, and this one has 248 pages. So you see what I did there? Doubles. Okay, this one I wanted to highlight. I haven't read this one. Aaron just brought this one home that he picked up at the library sale, but he was intrigued by it because it's a genre blend. It's definitely a mystery, but it's also historical fiction, and it involves pirates. So he was like completely intrigued by that, and I'm going to be honest, so am I. It says that it's a Spider John mystery, and I don't know if you can see in black in the background, you've got these ships on the ocean. It's a pretty cool cover. Okay, so this takes place in 1723. Spider John, longing to escape the pirate life he never wanted, has an honest seafaring job at last, aboard a sailing vessel, and its return to his beloved M and their child. But when Captain Brentwood is murdered in his cabin, Spider's plans are tossed overboard. Who killed Redemption's captain? The mysterious pirate with a sadistic past? The beautiful redhead who hides guns beneath her skirt? One of the men pining for the captain's daughter? There are plenty of suspects. But how could anyone kill the captain in his locked quarters while the entire crew was gathered together on the deck? Before he can solve the puzzle, Spider John and his ex-pirate friends Hob and Odin will have to cope with violence, schemes, nosy Royal Navy officers, and a deadly trap set by the ruthless pirate Ned Lowe. Isn't that intriguing? So not only is this a pirate mystery, it's a locked room mystery. I just find that so fascinating. Okay, and then last but not least, I have a few books here that have 2-word titles. First up is Deja Dead by Kathy Reichs. This is the first in her Temperance Brennan series. I've stopped reading this series, but I'll be honest, I really did enjoy the first ones in the series. The first, I don't know, I know that I think I maybe got bored a bit as the series progressed, but I definitely did enjoy the beginning. I loved the connection between North Carolina and Quebec. I thought that was really interesting. And she's a forensic archaeologist or a forensic scientist, which I also find fascinating. This is the series that the TV show Bones was based off of, but Bones went in a completely different direction. In the years since Temp left behind a shaky marriage in North Carolina, work has often preempted her weekend plans to explore Quebec. But when an unidentified female corpse is discovered meticulously dismembered and stashed in garbage bags, Tempe detects an alarming pattern within the grisly handiwork, and her professional detachment gives way to a harrowing search for a killer in the city's winding streets. Okay, and then I guess an argument could be made that these books have 3 words in the title, but I'm not counting the in this case. Fatal Fashion and the Hooded Hawk. I also like that both of these have those 2 words have the same first letter. I feel like that kind of gives it a bonus. This is part of the Elizabeth I series by Karen Harper, and all the books in this series have 2-word titles if you remove the. I love this series. The main character is Queen Elizabeth I, and it's set during her early years in power. This is another series where I wouldn't worry too much about reading it in order. And so if you want to start with Fatal Fashion or Hooded Hawk, you could go right ahead. And then last but not least, we have The Wicked Winter by Kate Sedley. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just removing the from the equation. This also has W twice in those 2-word titles. I also really love this cover. Isn't that great? So this is a Roger the Chapman medieval mystery. Despite the chills of winter, Roger the Chapman relishes the freedom of his calling. Journeying west, he finds himself following in the footsteps of an itinerant preacher, Brother Simeon, whose sermons are the talk of the countryside. Roger, who's met the friar before and finds his zeal wearying, is less than enthused when they meet beneath the roof of Cedarwell Manor, where Simeon has come to pray with Lady Cedarwell and Roger to sell his wares. But Lady Cedarwell is in no state to receive either man, for scarcely have they arrived when she is found dead. The circumstances of her demise strangely fulfilling the prophet of a babbling hermit Roger had met on the road. Suddenly, the friar and the chapman are united in their aim to discover the truth behind the death at Cedarwell Manor. So there you have it. Those are the last of my recommendations for March Mystery Madness. Have you read any of these books? You know I love to chat with you in the comment section down below. And if you have any ideas for what you could do with this theme, this 2x2 or doubles theme, I would also love to hear those in the comment section down below. And I will see you for another video soon. Bye.